Hello, and welcome back to the Sleep Lab. Tonight we're going to sink slowly, gently, down into one of the quietest, strangest, and most poorly lit places on the entire planet, the deep ocean, a world covering more than half of Earth's surface and yet remaining, even now, more thoroughly unmapped than the visible surface of the moon. Down there, sunlight fades to nothing within a few hundred feet, pressure builds to levels that would crush an ordinary submarine, and life persists anyway, glowing softly in the dark, drifting patiently through currents that move slower than a human heartbeat. Tonight we're going to drift through 100 small, calming facts about that hidden world, one gentle detail after another, offered slowly enough to let each one settle before the next quietly arrives, the way silt settles softly onto the seafloor after disturbance finally passes. Nothing tonight needs to be remembered. Just let it sink in, gently, the way everything eventually does down there, unhurried and entirely without effort. If this kind of journey is worth your time, a like, a subscribe, or a thought left below helps this small lab keep its lights on for other sleepy minds finding their way here. But for now, there is nothing you need to do except settle in, let your body grow heavy, and let 100 small truths from the ocean's depths drift slowly over you instead. Let's begin. 1. More than 80% of the ocean remains completely unmapped and unexplored. In a genuine sense, humanity has actually seen more of the surface of Mars than the floor of its own planet's own seas. 2. Sunlight disappears almost entirely by around 3,000 feet down, a region scientists call the midnight zone. No natural light has ever reached there, not once, in the entire history of Earth. 3. The deepest known point in the ocean, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, plunges nearly 7 miles beneath the surface. It is deep enough to swallow Mount Everest whole, with room to spare above it. 4. Water pressure at the ocean's deepest points exceeds 8 tons per square inch. It is a force so immense it would crush an unprotected human body almost instantly, without warning. 5. Despite this crushing pressure, life still exists at the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, including small, pale shrimp-like creatures and delicate, translucent sea cucumbers, quietly drifting across the trench floor. 6. Bioluminescence, the ability to produce light through a natural chemical reaction, is believed to be used by the vast majority of animals living in the ocean's deepest, darkest zones, turning the dark into a place of quiet, scattered light. 7. Scientists estimate that up to 90% of deep-sea creatures produce some form of their own light. This makes the deep ocean, in its own quiet way, one of the most illuminated places on Earth. 8. The anglerfish, famous for the glowing lure dangling above its head, uses that soft light specifically to attract curious prey close enough to strike in the total darkness surrounding it. 9. Some deep-sea jellyfish can produce a glowing blue light so sudden and bright that researchers believe it may momentarily startle predators. That brief flash buys the jellyfish just enough time to drift quietly away. 10. The ocean's average depth is roughly 12,000 feet. If Mount Everest were placed at the bottom of many ocean basins, its peak would still remain well underwater. 11. Deep-sea currents move remarkably slowly, sometimes covering only a few miles over the course of an entire year, a pace almost impossible for the human mind to comfortably imagine. 12. The deep ocean maintains a nearly constant, cold temperature year-round, typically hovering just above freezing, undisturbed by the seasons that reshape the world above the waves. 13. Hydrothermal vents, cracks in the ocean floor where mineral-rich water heated by the Earth's interior escapes, can reach temperatures exceeding 700 degrees Fahrenheit, even while surrounded by near-freezing water. 14. Entire ecosystems thrive around these hydrothermal vents, sustained not by sunlight at all, but by chemical energy drawn directly from the Earth itself. This discovery reshaped biology entirely when first found in 1977. 15. Giant tube worms living near hydrothermal vents can grow over 8 feet long, and have no mouth or digestive system at all. They rely instead on bacteria living quietly inside their own bodies for nourishment. 16. The giant squid, long considered a creature of myth and legend, was not successfully photographed alive in its natural deep-sea habitat until 2004, after centuries of sailors' stories and scientific speculation. 17. Giant squid can grow up to 43 feet in length, with eyes the size of dinner plates, among the largest eyes found anywhere in the entire animal kingdom. 18. Those enormous eyes are believed to help giant squid detect the faint bioluminescent glow of approaching predators, including their most famous, formidable rival, the sperm whale. 19. Sperm whales can dive more than 2 miles deep in pursuit of squid, holding their breath for well over an hour at a time in the cold, silent dark far below. 20. The ocean's midnight zone, despite its darkness, is far from empty. It is home to lanternfish, vampire squid, and countless other creatures uniquely adapted to a life spent almost entirely without light. 21. Lanternfish are believed to be among the most abundant vertebrates on the entire planet, though most people will live their whole lives without ever once seeing one. 22. Each night, countless lanternfish and other small creatures rise from the deep toward the surface to feed, then quietly descend again before dawn. This migration is so vast it is considered the largest daily movement of life on Earth. 23. This nightly journey, called diel vertical migration, moves such an enormous mass of living creatures that it can even be detected by sonar. In the early days of the technology, it was sometimes mistaken for a false ocean floor. 24. The ocean holds roughly 97% of all the water on Earth. Nearly everything we call water on this planet is, in truth, simply the ocean itself. 25. Despite covering most of the planet, the ocean's total volume is thought to contain far more unexplored biological diversity than has ever been formally, fully catalogued by science. 26. Some deep-sea creatures, including certain species of coral, are estimated to live for thousands of years, growing so slowly that a single colony can outlast entire human civilizations. 27. Black smokers, a specific kind of hydrothermal vent, release plumes of mineral dark water that can look almost like billowing smoke rising gently through the surrounding, silent water above. 28. The pressure and cold of the deep sea mean that many deep-water animals move remarkably slowly, conserving precious energy in an environment where food can be scarce and genuinely difficult to find. 29. Some deep-sea fish, including certain species of anglerfish, have males that permanently fuse to a much larger female. They eventually lose their own eyes and internal organs, existing simply, quietly, to provide reproduction for her. 30. We've reached the first third of tonight's list. Somewhere, right now, in the endless dark far beneath any ship or shoreline, something small is quietly, gently glowing. 31. The Mariana Trench alone is longer than the height of Mount Everest is tall, stretching for more than 1,500 miles across the floor of the western Pacific Ocean. 32. Only a small handful of people have ever visited the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, genuinely fewer than have walked on the surface of the moon. 33. Explorer Jacques Picard and Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh made the first crewed descent to the Challenger Deep in 1960, a journey taking nearly 5 hours simply to reach the bottom. 34. Filmmaker James Cameron completed a solo dive to the very same depths in 2012, spending several quiet hours exploring the trench floor almost entirely alone in the dark. 35. The ocean's abyssal plain, the vast, flat expanse covering much of the deep seafloor, is considered one of the largest and least explored landscapes anywhere on the entire planet. 36. Manganese nodules, small mineral formations scattered gently across parts of the abyssal plain, take millions of years to form, growing at a rate slower than the growth of human fingernails. 37. Some deep-sea sponges are believed to be among the oldest living animals on Earth, with certain individuals estimated to be well over 10,000 years old. 38. The ocean floor is far from flat and featureless, containing mountain ranges, canyons, and volcanic ridges every bit as dramatic as anything found above the waves. 39. The mid-ocean ridge, a massive underwater mountain chain stretching across the globe, is the longest continuous mountain range on Earth, though almost entirely hidden from view beneath the water. 40. Deep-sea octopuses, including the delicate, ghost-like species known as Casper, have been found living at depths where scientists once assumed no octopus could possibly survive at all. 41. Some deep-sea octopus mothers have been observed brooding their eggs for more than 4 years without ever once leaving them, one of the longest parental care periods known anywhere in the entire animal kingdom. 42. Vampire squid, despite their dramatic name, are gentle, slow-moving creatures that feed primarily on marine snow, the soft, drifting debris that falls gently from the ocean above. 43. Marine snow, made up of dead organisms, waste, and tiny particles, drifts down continuously from the sunlit surface, providing a quiet, steady food source for countless creatures in the darkness below. 44. It can take marine snow weeks to fully drift down from the surface to the deep seafloor, a slow, gentle, unhurried journey through miles of increasingly dark water. 45. Whale falls, the term for a whale carcass sinking to the deep seafloor, can support entire, thriving ecosystems for decades, a single death quietly sustaining countless smaller lives afterward. 46. Some species have been found living exclusively on whale falls, evolved specifically to depend on this rare, temporary, but remarkably rich source of nourishment found nowhere else. 47. The deep ocean's near-total darkness means many of its creatures have either lost their eyesight entirely or developed eyes remarkably larger and more sensitive than any land animal's own. 48. Some deep-sea fish have transparent heads, allowing scientists to actually observe their eyes rotating freely within a clear, fluid-filled dome as they search patiently for faint traces of light. 49. The barrel-eye fish is one such creature, its tubular, upward-facing eyes peering through its own transparent skull to detect the faint silhouettes of prey drifting quietly above it. 50. We've reached the halfway point of tonight's list. Somewhere, gently, miles below any surface storm or sunlight, the ocean remains exactly as calm and quiet as it always has. 51. The deep sea is one of the most stable environments on Earth, largely undisturbed by the storms, temperature swings, and daily rhythms that constantly reshape the world above the waves. 52. Some deep-sea creatures, isolated from surface-driven change for so long, have remained almost entirely unchanged for tens of millions of quiet, patient years. 53. The coelacanth, a fish once believed to have gone extinct alongside the dinosaurs, was discovered still quietly living in deep ocean waters off South Africa in 1938. 54. Coelacanth can live for many decades, and their gestation period, still being studied by scientists today, is believed to last several years, remarkably long even by deep-sea standards. 55. The ocean's depths remain so cold and so dark that scientists sometimes describe certain deep-sea zones as being more similar to outer space than to any other place on Earth. 56. In fact, astronauts training for extreme environments have historically trained underwater, since the deep ocean offers one of the closest available analogues to the conditions of space itself. 57. Deep-sea exploration submersibles must be built with walls thick enough to withstand crushing pressure, yet light enough to still return safely to the surface afterward, a genuinely delicate engineering balance. 58. The bathyscaphe Trieste, used for that first 1960 descent into the Challenger Deep, had walls nearly 5 inches thick, built specifically to endure the trench's immense, silent pressure. 59. Modern remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, now allow scientists to explore the deep ocean without placing a human body under such extreme, dangerous pressure at all. 60. Some ROVs have captured the first ever footage of species entirely new to science, creatures whose existence had never once been documented before that quiet, patient moment of discovery. 61. New marine species are still being discovered regularly, and researchers estimate that the majority of ocean life, particularly in the deep sea, remains genuinely, entirely undescribed by science. 62. The ocean absorbs an enormous amount of the sun's heat, helping regulate Earth's overall climate in ways still being carefully studied and understood even today. 63. Deep ocean currents help distribute this heat slowly around the entire globe, a process that can take, from start to finish, well over 1,000 years to complete a single full cycle. 64. This slow, planet-spanning circulation is sometimes called the ocean's conveyor belt, quietly carrying heat, nutrients, and dissolved gases across every one of Earth's major ocean basins. 65. The ocean produces more oxygen than all the world's rainforests combined, largely thanks to tiny, sunlit surface organisms called phytoplankton, drifting quietly near the very top of the water. 66. Though phytoplankton live near the surface, their remains eventually drift downward, becoming part of the same marine snow that gently feeds the deep-sea creatures far below them. 67. Some deep-sea creatures can detect bioluminescent light with extraordinary sensitivity, able to sense even a single, faint flicker from remarkably far away in the otherwise total darkness. 68. The color blue travels farther through water than any other wavelength of light, which is part of why the deep ocean, in its faintest final moments of visible light, glows a deep, quiet blue before fading entirely to black. 69. Red light, by contrast, is absorbed by water almost immediately, which is why many deep-sea creatures are actually colored red, since that color becomes essentially invisible in the dim, blue-tinted world they inhabit. 70. The ocean's twilight zone, sitting between the sunlit surface and the total darkness below, is home to an extraordinary abundance of life, though it remains one of the least studied regions on the entire planet. 71. Scientists believe the twilight zone may contain more fish, by total weight, than every other ocean zone combined, an entire hidden ecosystem quietly suspended in dim, fading light. 72. Sound travels roughly 4 times faster through water than through air, meaning ocean creatures can communicate and detect one another across distances that would be impossible for any sound traveling above the waves. 73. Whale songs can travel for hundreds of miles underwater, carried gently through deep, sound-friendly channels that stretch across entire ocean basins from one coast to another. 74. The deep ocean's constant, near-total silence, broken only occasionally by these distant whale songs, is part of why researchers describe it as one of the quietest environments left anywhere on Earth. 75. Some scientists have described descending into the deep ocean as feeling almost meditative, the darkness, silence, and slow, gentle drift creating a sense of calm difficult to find anywhere else on the planet. 76. The ocean floor is not static, and tectonic plates shift slowly beneath the water, gradually reshaping ocean basins over the course of many millions of quiet, patient years. 77. Underwater volcanoes, some still active today, continue quietly building new seafloor along the mid-ocean ridge, a process that has been gently, continuously reshaping the planet for billions of years. 78. Deep-sea hydrothermal vent ecosystems are considered by many scientists to offer genuine insight into how life on Earth may have first begun, entirely independent of sunlight or the surface above. 79. This possibility has encouraged astrobiologists to study Earth's hydrothermal vents closely, searching for clues about whether similar life might exist in the deep, ice-covered oceans of moons like Europa or Enceladus. 80. The pressure at extreme ocean depths is strong enough to compress a styrofoam cup down to a fraction of its original size, a small, popular demonstration researchers sometimes send down attached to their equipment. 81. Some deep-sea creatures have soft, gelatinous bodies specifically because rigid structures would require far more energy to maintain against such extraordinary, constant pressure at depth. 82. The Dumbo octopus, named for its ear-like fins, is one of the deepest living octopus species known, drifting gently along the seafloor at depths exceeding 13,000 feet. 83. Unlike many octopuses, the Dumbo octopus does not use ink as a defense, since there is simply no light down there for a cloud of ink to meaningfully obscure at all. 84. Some deep-sea creatures have evolved bodies almost entirely lacking pigment, since color itself serves little purpose in an environment where light so rarely, if ever, reaches at all. 85. Certain species of deep-sea shrimp can produce a bright, glowing cloud of bioluminescent fluid when threatened, a startling burst of light used to distract predators before quickly escaping into the dark. 86. The deep ocean is thought to hold vast, still unexplored reserves of biodiversity, and researchers estimate that thousands of new species may still be waiting quietly to be discovered. 87. Some hydrothermal vent ecosystems host entire fields of giant tube worms, forests of pale, waving color rising quietly from otherwise barren, mineral-streaked rock below. 88. Deep-sea corals, unlike their shallow water relatives, do not depend on sunlight at all, and some cold water coral reefs have been found thriving in complete darkness thousands of feet below the surface. 89. Certain deep-sea coral reefs are estimated to be tens of thousands of years old, quietly outlasting entire eras of human history without ever once seeing daylight themselves. 90. The Puerto Rico Trench, the deepest point in the Atlantic Ocean, plunges more than 5 miles beneath the surface, a quiet, dark counterpart to the Pacific's own famous Mariana Trench. 91. Ocean trenches form where one of Earth's tectonic plates slowly slides beneath another, a slow, grinding, patient process that has carved some of the planet's deepest, darkest places over millions of years. 92. Life has been found even within these trenches' extreme depths, including tiny amphipods, shrimp-like scavengers perfectly adapted to survive the crushing pressure and total darkness found there. 93. Deep-sea expeditions have occasionally recovered plastic debris even from the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, a quiet, sobering reminder of how far human impact has managed to reach. 94. Despite this, the deep ocean remains, on the whole, one of the least disturbed environments left on Earth, largely untouched by the noise, light, and motion that fills the world above. 95. Researchers continue developing new technology specifically to explore the deep ocean more gently, minimizing disturbance to the fragile, ancient ecosystems found resting quietly within it. 96. Some scientists have proposed that we still know less about the deep ocean floor than we do about the surface of Mars, Venus, or even the far side of the Moon. 97. Every expedition into the deep sea tends to bring back at least one genuine surprise, a species, a formation, or a behavior that no one had ever documented before that quiet moment. 98. The deep ocean, despite its darkness and pressure, is not a place of emptiness at all, but one of the richest, most quietly abundant ecosystems found anywhere on the entire planet. 99. Far beneath any storm, any tide, any passing ship, the deep sea continues on exactly as it has for millions of years, patient, dark, and entirely steady. 100. And perhaps the most relaxing truth of all is simply this, that no matter what is happening on the surface tonight, somewhere far below, in the deep, quiet dark, the ocean remains exactly as calm as it has always been. We have reached the end of tonight's 100 small truths from the ocean's depths, each one a quiet, gentle glimpse into a world that covers most of our planet and yet remains almost entirely unseen. We drifted past glowing anglerfish and ancient sponges, hydrothermal vents hot enough to boil and waters cold enough to still, past giant squid finally caught on camera and coelacanth that outlived the very extinction meant to claim them. We remembered marine snow falling gently for weeks through miles of darkening water, and whale songs traveling farther than any voice could ever carry through the open air above. There is something quietly worth carrying from a journey like tonight's, a reminder that vast, unhurried stillness exists just beneath the surface of nearly everything, waiting patiently, glowing softly, entirely undisturbed by whatever storm might be passing overhead. If tonight's 100 quiet depths were worth your time, a like, a subscribe, or a thought left below helps the Sleep Lab stay open for the next curious, sleepy mind who finds their way here. And if you're still awake, there's another story waiting just beyond this one, whenever you're ready for it. But for now, let yourself sink slowly, gently, the way marine snow sinks through the dark, unhurried, and entirely at peace. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breathing slow. Sleep well. And good night.